Let's talk about what happens when a community's own leaders don't play by the rules. Today, we're diving into a real-life court case between a homeowner and his HOA, and we're getting all our info straight from the official legal documents. Okay, let's get into it.
So this is really the question at the heart of our story today. I mean, imagine this. You're serving on your HOA board, you go out of town for a bit, and by the time you get back, you've been kicked off. Well, that's exactly what one man claimed happened to him, and yeah, it led to a full-blown legal battle.
All right, so let's set the scene. How did this whole thing even start? Well, it all kicked off with a surprise meeting and a chairman who, all of a sudden, found himself on the outside looking in. So, the man at the center of all this is John Yuille. And he wasn't just any resident, he was the chairman of the board for his community, the Caida Court HOA. You know, he was in the top leadership spot, elected to represent everyone.
Now check out how fast this all went down. So it's the summer of 2011, and Yuille is away. He gets back home on August 24th, and he walks right into a special meeting that's already happening, a meeting that was specifically called to get rid of him. And by the end of that day, he was officially out. It was incredibly fast and, according to him, totally improper.
So, as you can probably guess, that sudden removal is what sparked the legal fight. Yuille took his case to the Arizona Office of Administrative Hearings, arguing that the HOA flat out broke the law. Okay, so the core of Yuille's case was this. He testified that he never ever saw a copy of the recall petition they supposedly used to oust him. In fact, he went a step further. He said he didn't think a real, valid written petition even existed. Basically, he was calling the whole thing a sham.
And here is where the story gets really interesting. This quote is from the HOA's official written answer to the court. It's not some offhand comment. They actually wrote that they possibly did not follow the statute and then apologized for it. I mean, wow, that's a huge admission, and it became a critical piece of the whole case.
So what was the statute they possibly didn't follow? Let's break down the actual state law that says exactly how you can, and more importantly, can't remove an HOA board member in Arizona. The law we're talking about is Arizona Revised Statute, Section 331243H. And this thing isn't some vague guideline. Nope, it is a very specific, mandatory, step-by-step process. If an HOA wants a board member gone, they have to follow these steps to the letter. There's no wiggle room. The law lays out a super clear three-step process. First, you need a real, signed petition from the homeowners. Second, once you have that petition, you have to send out a formal written notice for a special meeting. And third, and this is the real kicker for our story, that meeting has to happen within 30 days of getting the petition.
And that right there, that's the smoking gun. This is precisely where the HOA messed up. Even if you forget the whole argument about whether the petition was real, the court found a violation they couldn't deny. The judge's decision specifically says Caida Court did not hold the meeting within that mandatory 30-day window. They broke a very clear, time-sensitive rule.
So, with the HOA's own admission on the record and a clear violation of state law, the case went for a judge. It was time to make a call.
Now, before we get to the verdict, it's good to know what the judge was looking for. This isn't a criminal trial, so it's not beyond a reasonable doubt. The standard here is called preponderance of the evidence. All that means is the judge just had to be convinced that Yuille's story was more likely true than not. Think of it like tipping the scales, even just slightly.
And the verdict? Well, it was decisive. Based on all the evidence, especially the HOA's own written statement, the judge concluded that yes, the Caida Court HOA had violated Arizona state law. John Yuille had won his case.
But the ruling didn't just stop there. Oh no, the HOA was also ordered to pay up for not following the procedure. First, they had to pay Mr. Yuille back his $550 court filing fee. And on top of that, they were hit with a $200 civil penalty that they had to pay to the state. Now, these aren't giant sums of money for sure, but they send a really clear message. You have to follow the rules. And with that, the book was officially closed. On October 24th, 2012, over a year after this whole thing started, the judge's decision was certified, making it the final legally binding outcome. So, okay, a small dispute in Arizona, a few $100 in fines. Why does any of this matter? What's the big lesson we can take away from all this? Well, this case is a perfect example of why these boring-sounding rules and procedures are actually the foundation of any fair group. They make sure everyone gets a fair shake. They stop leaders from just doing whatever they want on a whim. They give you a clear roadmap so everyone knows what to expect. And most importantly, they hold leaders accountable and protect the rights of every single person in the community. At the end of the day, this wasn't just about one guy getting his chairmanship back. It was about the principle that rules are there to protect everyone, from the people in charge to the newest resident. And it leaves all of us with a pretty important question to think about. Do you actually know the rules that govern your community, and are they being followed? Thanks for tuning in.